Let's talk to the Elvis Presley of Canmore.
Oh.
Mr. Harold H. Cock-a-doodle-doo. And he's going to talk about the blind cattlemen of Kimberley, and they're still looking for their cows. Let's talk to the man. You there? G'day, Harold.
I am, Danny. You won't believe what he found, too.
Well,
It's just an unbelievable story.
Well, let's let us in on the secret.
Yeah, look, the secret was I was actually up at Yeppoon this week and came across this story. Now, it's not directly related to Ipswich, but it's so good that I just have to tell you.
You tell
Now,
us.
it was on the 2nd of December, 1937, that police arrived on the beach at Yeppoon to find 20-year-old Owen Weaver holding 18-year-old Valda Hayes in his arms. And when questioned, he could only answer hysterically, "I was going to Mount Morgan." Now, Mr.
Who was Morgan? Was that another girl or what? He's going to Mount Morgan.
That was Mount Morgan, southwest of Yeppoon. Yeah. Now, young Owen's father was a William Weaver from the Logan district, just south of Ipswich. Now, Weaver Senior went to Western Australia, and there he became known as the blind cattleman from the Kimberley. But come the 1930s, he was making his living in mining. That's because he sold his 12,000 cattle in the Kimberley and set out with his wife and family in search of gold at Tennant Creek in the Northern Territory. Now, the blind cattleman, he joined forces with his mate Jack Noble, who strangely only had one eye. And so, with just one eye between them, they searched ground that others had given up on and found a fabulously rich reef of gold. They turned down an immediate offer of £50,000, which is more than $20 million in today's money. Tennant Creek became the third largest gold producer in Australia. Now, young Owen Weaver, however, he had his sights set on a different adventure and purchased an old de Havilland DH-50 biplane that had been used by Qantas on the Charleville-Cloncurry route. Now, he may also have had his sights set on the pretty Valda Hayes in Mount Morgan, which is southwest of Rockhampton and Yeppoon, like I said. Now, Valda's father was the formidable Mr. James Hayes. Now, he was a licensee of the Grand Hotel at Mount Morgan and a former boxing and wrestling champion of Queensland and Victoria. He was also the world record holder for club swinging. Now, club swinging is a sport where you're given points with a degree of difficulty for your swinging routines. And it's actually appeared in 2 Olympic Games. Now, Owen Weaver, that's a young fella, he travelled to Queensland with his sister Kathleen. He collected his new aeroplane down in Brisbane and then flew to Mount Morgan to visit the Hayes family. Now, after staying 10 days, Owen took off for Yeppoon. Now, in the plane with him this time was, again, his 16-year-old sister Kathleen, but also Mr. Hayes, the world champion club swinger, 22-year-old son John Hayes, who was also a pilot, and 18-year-old daughter Valda, who incidentally was the youngest female pilot in Queensland. Now, they all spent time on the ground at Yeppoon and then they took off on the plane again. But this time, at a height of about 150 feet, the plane nosedived and went into a spin and crashed into the beach at Yeppoon. Now, Mr. Hayes and his son John were killed instantly. The police then arrived to see Owen cradling Valda in his arms. Now, both Valda and Owen's sister, Kathleen, were pronounced dead after being taken to hospital. With 4 fatalities, this was the worst aviation tragedy in Queensland up to that time. Now, this isn't the end of the story. You see, 3 months later, Mrs. Hayes, she just lost all her family, she went on a trip to New Zealand and she avoided air travel entirely. You see, she was driven from Mount Morgan down to Sydney by Owen Weaver, who took her on board the ship Awatea. Now, later with the outbreak of the Second World War in 1939, that ship was sunk by German aircraft. 5 months later, Owen himself boarded the ship Orama, headed for England to join the Royal Air Force. That ship was also sunk by German aircraft. Now, in the meantime, William Weaver, he's the blind cattleman from the Logan district, he died at Tennant Creek. And shortly afterwards, by this time it was October 1940, Owen Weaver, who was the young pilot, he was flying with the RAF off the Norwegian coast. He was shot down and killed by German aircraft. Mrs. Weaver, she's like the sole survivor in all this. She sold the gold mine and moved back to be with family.
Right.
But that was before the mine realised its full potential. And Noble's Knob, as their mine became known, went on to become the richest gold mine for its size in the world. So, Danny, this amazing story that started not far from Ipswich. From there, the blind cattleman from Kimberley teamed up with a one-eyed miner to find one of the richest gold mines in the world, and the family's constant, fatal relationship with aircraft. I just had to tell you this because it's just a number of coincidences. It's always worth sharing coincidences with you, Danny.
Mate, that was a great story. You build it up, and then there was the knob. What was it called?
Noble's Knob. Very famous gold mine, that one.
Is it?
Noble's Knob.
Still going?
Yeah. No, it's abandoned now. It was abandoned about 20 years ago, but Danny, I'm surprised you're not across Noble's Knob. It's a very big producer.
Well, I knew a girl named Yorkie's Knob, but...
well, that's up north. That's a good place too.
Now, tell me this.
Cairnsway, isn't it?
It is, and that's where Carl Stefanovic's mother lives, very isolated. Now, mate, how can we get a copy of this story and all the stories on the Arc website or Facebook post site?
Yes, well, the website and Facebook, go to History Out There. The website is historyouthere.com. This story and photos of all these people, and from the blind cattleman on, tomorrow morning. Every Sunday morning, stories updated.
You've got to
West Brum Radio.
You've got to put your likes on there and say how much you like it, and tell Harold how much you like his stories. Really important. And if you want to get on there and do us a arc, go right ahead. That's History Out There.
Danny, it's really competitive because they've got to say how much they like you too, because this is what you talk about.
Of course.
There's certain someone else you want to get ahead of.
Of course. We don't want to talk to Damien up there at 4W.
Please.